Well, if you're here now, we can't blame you anymore.
I don't know what that little hiccup was, but I need to do a workaround. So I'm here. Give me about 30 seconds to gather.
Commissioner Samuel, your audio is a bit low. I don't know if maybe you have another microphone option or if maybe you could just get closer to the microphone, but I've gone ahead and started the YouTube live stream just because sometimes it takes a little bit to load. So we are ready when you are. It looks like the only commissioner we're missing is Commissioner Spencer.
It's his fault.
How's my audio now?
That's much better. That's much better. Thank you, Chairperson Samuel. We're ready to start whenever you are.
Good evening, and thank you, everyone, members of public, for joining us for the Tuesday, April 5th session of the Zoning Committee of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Planning Commission. My name is Kiba Samuel, and I serve as chair of the Planning Commission and Zoning Committee. This meeting is being streamed online in accordance with the state's electronic meeting statute. Requirements for access and notice were met electronically. Please mute your audio if you are not speaking to make a motion or a second. Please state your name before making that motion or second. And we will begin with introductions. Sorry, members of the public may watch this meeting on the City of Charlotte's Planning, Design, and Development Department's YouTube page. And we will go through introductions now, beginning with my commissioners. Mr. Vice Chair, please.
Douglas Walton, Vice Chair of the Zoning Committee.
Commissioner Chirinos.
Good evening, Astrid Chirinos, Planning Commission.
Commissioner Ham.
John Ham, Planning Commission, Zoning Committee.
Blumenthal.
Andrew Blumenthal, Zoning Committee.
And Commissioner Spencer is still not with us as of yet. And I'm also missing Commissioner Rhodes. So we will go with the 5 of us for now, and hopefully that won't be an issue. Let's begin with staff, and I'm going to go down alphabetically here. Brandon.
Good evening, Brandon Brazil, Charlotte Department of Transportation.
Dave.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Dave Pettenbury, Zoning Program Manager.
Donna.
Donna Johnson McNeil, Planning Staff.
Jake.
Jake Carpenter, CDOT Land Development Section Manager.
Joe.
Joe Mangum, Planning Staff.
Kevin.
Good evening, Kevin Parker, CDOT Project Manager.
Michael.
Good evening, Michael Russell, Planning Staff.
Patrick.
Patrick Monroe, CDOT Staff.
Walter.
Walter Blackman, CDOT Senior Project Manager.
And Holly.
Holly Kramer, rezoning planning staff.
And I believe that is everyone. Have I missed anyone?
John Kinley, rezoning staff.
I'm sorry, John. Okay, let's get to it. Mr. Patton, can you please advise of any withdrawals or deferrals?
Yeah, we do have, let's see, I think 3 deferrals. Item number 1, 2021 197. Item number 2, 2021 199, and item number 3, 2021 101, all requesting a deferral to May 3rd, to our May 3rd meeting, excuse me.
So a quick question, Mr. Patton. This time last year, I don't remember, this is April, the month. I don't know, when will we've had some 22s, but we're still seeing some 2021s. And I would imagine that there's some more that are probably lingering out there because as I'm driving, visiting sites, I'm seeing signs that begin with 2021 230s. I don't know if I should be nervous about that, but I don't remember us getting up that high for 2021. I'm sorry, in April of 2021.
Yeah, we've been taking petitions for January through April that still have 2021 numbers because they were all submitted in the calendar year of 2021.
Okay, so agenda item number 1, I'm sorry, our
Yep.
first zoning petition that we'll hear, item number 4, is 2021-056 Urban Trends Real Estate. This is one that was deferred from last month, and we will hear from Michael.
Great, thank you. This is approximately 1.35 acres located along the north side of B Avenue, east of Beatties Ford Road and north of Interstate 85. The current zoning is R3, single family residential, and R17 MF, multifamily residential. In this one, the petition is consistent with the Northwest District Plan's recommendation of multifamily land uses. The petition proposes to develop a residential community of up to 20 multifamily units with the density of 14.8 dwelling units per acre. There was one outstanding issue for transportation to revise the site plan to call out both portions of C Avenue to be privately maintained. I spoke with the petitioner and they've agreed to call out that in the revision. And staff recommends this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Do we have any questions on this petition?
What was the reason for their deferral? This is Commissioner Blumenthal, sorry.
That I will let Dave answer that question, or Michael answer that question.
I think that's something the petitioner can answer. I think they wanted to clean up the outstanding CDOT issues and perhaps to work with the community. But that's all I know. I think you would have to talk with the petitioner for further information.
Well, it's not urgent. I don't think we need to suspend the rules. I was just curious.
Any other questions for Michael? Motion, please.
It's Commissioner Walton. I'll make a motion. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve the petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-056 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Blumenthal, second.
Motion by Walton, second by Blumenthal. Commissioner Chirinos, please.
Aye.
Ham,
Aye.
Blumenthal.
Aye.
Walton.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 5.
Spencer.
Oh. Hello, Mr. Spencer.
Hey, sorry about the Spencer votes aye.
Thank you so very much. Item number 5, rezoning petition 2021-103 by Providence Group Capital. And this one we'll hear from Holly.
Thank you. This site is just 2.25 acres located on the north side of Blair Hill Road, south of Clanton Road, and west of South Tryon. The current zoning is I1 light industrial, and it is proposing to go to TOD UCCD, Transit Oriented Development Urban Center Conditional. You probably recognize this because it's been to you before, and it's just coming back as a conditional rezoning petition rather than conventional. The Scaly Bark Transit Station Area Plan recommends office and industrial warehouse distribution uses for this site. There isn't necessarily a site plan for this petition. Really, we just wanted a note that would cap the maximum building height at 225 feet. Because initially when it was coming through as a conventional petition, staff was concerned with the maximum building height of 300 feet that would have been allowed with bonus provisions. So now that that note has been added, staff is in support of the petition. And I will take any questions.
Thank you, Holly. I think that I think we all remember this particular petition, but if there are any questions for Holly, please speak up. If there are none, motion, please.
This is Commissioner Blumenthal. Having reviewed the petition and considered this consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number, where is it? Number.
It's
121-103 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Commissioner Welton, I'll second.
Motion by Blumenthal, second by Walton. Commissioner Root.
Aye.
Spencer.
Spencer votes aye.
Ham.
Aye.
Chirinos.
Aye.
Walton.
Aye.
Blumenthal.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 6, 2021-133 by Drakeford Communities, and Joe will take us through this one.
Thank you. This is approximately 6.57 acres located at the intersection of Allegheny Street and Ashley Road. The current zoning is R12 MF. Proposed zoning is UR2 CD. The Central District Plan recommends multifamily development for this site. They are proposing 107 single-family attached residential units at a density of 16.29 DUA. They're requesting conversion rights that single-family attached units may be converted to single-family detached units at a rate of 2-to-1. Building height be limited to 50 feet. They're committing to some architectural standards, including pitched roofs, usable porches and stoops, and blank wall limitations. Limiting the number of units per building fronting public or private network streets to 5. Committing to constructing an ADA compliant bus waiting pad along Ashley Road. Reserving access to undeveloped rights of ways and alleys from adjacent properties. and also committing to other transportation improvements, including construction of ADA compliant curb ramps at public street intersections, dedicating right-of-way, and coordinating with an adjacent property owner to extend a sidewalk and fill a sidewalk gap on Bullard Street. Since the public hearing, they have addressed a comment related to driveways, and there remains an outstanding comment. You can see that their driveways and their parking area at adjacent to the single-family homes on Ashley Road. At the rear of those single-family home properties, there's an alley, and they are seeking to make use of that alley. Staff is requesting that an opaque fence be placed at the single-family or on the single-family side of that alley. The petitioner is agreeable to that, installing that fence, and will be following up with a revised site plan after zoning committee. Staff recommends approval upon resolution of the outstanding issue related to the fence, and I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Joe. We have any questions on this petition 133? Motion, please. Thank you.
Commissioner Ham, I'm sorry, I just have one quick question. I didn't see it, but what impact will this have on the schools? Not a big number of units, but I'm just curious on the schools in the area. I didn't see that. Hello?
Joe?
Yes, sorry, I was navigating between all these screens, trying to get to the correct part of the memo.
Yeah, I was looking too. Oh, let me see. I see 15 students. Okay, I see it. 15 students.
Well, so the existing zoning would allow development that could generate 15 students. The proposed zoning may produce 6 students. So I think it's single family versus multifamily.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Sure.
Any other questions for Joe?
Make a motion to approve. This is Commissioner Ham.
Thank you.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-133 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Commissioner Welton, I'll second.
Motion by Ham, second by Walton. Commissioner Chirinos.
Aye.
Ball.
Aye.
Walton. Spencer.
Aye.
Rhodes.
Aye.
Ham.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you so very much. And item number 7, we are at 2021-142. We'll hear from Joe again.
Thank you. This is approximately 36 acres located north of Old Moore's Chapel Road, south of Mount Holly Road, and east of I-485. The current zoning is MX2, partly MX2, and then that smaller portion adjacent to Old Moore's Chapel Road is R4. The proposed zoning is R12 MFCD, and a small part of the site is proposed to be NS. The Northwest District Plan recommends multifamily at up to 8 DUA for the larger portion of the site in that tan color, and single family at up to 4 DUA for the yellow shaded portion to the south. The proposal is for 268 multifamily residential units and 136 single-family attached units at a density of 11.22 DUA, so a total of 404 units. This would also allow for 750 square feet of commercial uses, along with 9,000 square feet of accessory outdoor dining. And that would be towards, we have it marked on here, but kind of in adjacent to I-485, towards the southern end of the site. They're prohibiting automobile service stations, convenience stores, and gasoline sales, car washes, and automobile drive-through windows. They're proposing transportation improvements that would include a new traffic signal at Morris Chapel Road and Kendall Drive, a directional crossover at Morris Chapel Road and Old Morris Chapel Road, an 8-foot planting strip and 8-foot sidewalk along Public Road 1, Old Morris Chapel Road, Rhine Station Road, and Rhine Station Road Extension. Also would be providing street connections to the adjacent Creedmoor Hills and villages at Creedmoor neighborhoods, and are committing to some architectural provisions, including maximum building height of 48 feet, built environment enhancements along public streets, porches, and stoops, limiting the number of units, single-family attached units, to 6 per building, as well as providing commercial building facade enhancements. Since the public hearing, they have addressed one transportation and one site and building design note. Staff recommends approval and be happy to take any questions.
So this is Commissioner Torinos. And I have not been to the site, so maybe you could help me with this. It seems a little isolated, like there's nothing around it. I mean, there seems to be school somewhere out there, but like, and they're limiting the. Do people have to drive really far to be able to get to services?
So there is, there's a shopping center with a grocery store, I believe a pharmacy, maybe some restaurants that is within a mile of the site, just off of Morris Chapel Road near the interchange with I-485.
Okay, that just, so, and in the mixed use, could you please say again what is allowed in that, in the construction there?
They're a mix of multifamily residential as well as single family attached, total of 404 units. There's also a small building that would house some sort of commercial use. It was kind of shared that they had envisioned a kind of a dog bar, which would be an amenity for the residents, and as a positive, something that's right there in the neighborhood and wouldn't require them to drive to it, but also as an amenity to the larger neighborhood outside of the Petition area.
Thank you. I was just trying to figure out what is going to be servicing that community, like supporting. I mean, like, grocery stores, gas stations. I mean, I know they're not allowed to have gas stations there, so it's trying to figure out what is in terms of the support, because it seems to have pretty large area with 34 new students in CMS with the transportation. So I was just wondering, there's just the support for that community.
Yeah, other than what Joe just mentioned, there's nothing the petitioner is providing, if that's what you're asking in terms of services. There's some mixed opinion about the dog bar amenity that they are proposing to have in this petition. But closest grocery and retail is going to be about 3/4 of a mile away, right off of 485 in Morris Chapel.
Madam Chair, did we not approve earlier, well, in the middle of last year, I think there are a couple of rezonings, and I'm looking at the rezoning history map, and I don't see it, but I thought we approved a couple right there on Highway 27 at Cedar Mill.
That's a bit far off from this particular petition. I know you remember that probably because of the Rhine station that
Yeah, the Rhine Station thing. Yeah.
But that's not really close to this petition.
I mean, it's not adjacent, but and I'm not sure about the fastest way to get from one side of the interstate to the other. You know, sort of running across the interstate, but you know, in terms of driving, how much of a challenge that would be.
Well, this is why I appreciate Commissioner Walton and Chair Samuels. I mean, it's just want to make sure that we keep in mind, you know, how we're going to be, you know, we're mindful of our 2040 plan, of, you know, 10-minute neighborhoods, and making sure that we have an equitable access to, you know, support and services. So I would like to, for the developer to consider, or, you know, or just to have opportunities where we can create more support for communities instead of isolating them. And it might be, I might need to go there and see the area, but from just the aerial, it just looks like it's isolated and surrounded by highways. So, but I just wanted to make that comment, just to make sure that we keep that in mind for the new development around, that is not, or that is encouraged to at least bring some other services, support services that come with the mixed use.
I definitely, I hear that and I understand that point of view. I think I remember reading some of the community meeting notes and that was mentioned. But it is that is not something that we can demand that a petitioner include in their petition. But a lot of folks are of the mindset that the people will bring that type of infrastructure, those types of services, put the people there and then the services will follow. I don't necessarily agree with that wholeheartedly, but I definitely understand your point. For CDOT, Brandon, I know we touched on this a little bit when I had questions about the Catawba River petition, but can you go back to the Rhine Station Road? What exactly is happening there?
Kevin, do you want to take that one or you want me to respond?
I can certainly respond. Are we, just so I'm caught up on previous conversations, are we talking about Rhine Station and, excuse me, is it Mount Holly?
Rhine Station and Old Morris Chapel. What's happening in this particular petition? I heard that mentioned. I heard something mentioned about Rhine Station. I just wanted to get some clarity there.
So Rhine Station Road is being extended and improved as a local collector street, which is a city standard street. It's a unique aspect here because it is within the ETJ, the little sliver that's being improved to the local collector street. So the pavement section will be improved to NCDOT standards since they will maintain it, but the cross section will be built to city standards, if that makes sense.
Okay, it was kind of hard to decipher that because Rhine Station is blocked by concrete barriers right there at Old Morris Chapel Road. So I wasn't able to get a good view. So just needed some clarity there. Any other questions for?
I've got a quick one for Joe. Joe, when you put the site plan up, it was itty bitty, and so I pulled up the one from your notes. That one. Where did you say that they're going to put their NS? And it was between X number of square feet and X number of square feet. Can you just reiterate that for me so that I can? Wait, I think I see your cursor. Yay! Is that the place?
Yeah, it's not my cursor, but yes, I think that's
Okay.
Holly on top of it. So that smaller area to, I guess, at first base of that little diamond.
Oh, yeah. I can see that on
Uh,
mine now too. Yeah.
That's the 2750 square feet of building space, and then the remainder would be the 9,000 square feet of accessory outdoor dining.
Okay, so this is the dog bar adventure. I was thinking it could be a building up to 9,000 square feet, which I guess you probably would have said up to 9,000 square feet, which might have played to Commissioner Chirinos's notion of, those uses that you need, the dry cleaner, the nails ladies, the barbershop, blah, blah, blah. Can be hard to get all that in 2,700 square feet. So, okay, all right, I'm cool. I couldn't make that out on the little bitty map, so we're good.
I'll have you know, my nail tech is a man.
But that doesn't stop there from being nail ladies.
Okay.
I'm
Any other questions?
This is Commissioner Rose. I have one quick question. I noticed that that there was a recommendation from Charlotte Water for them to contact them because the sanitary sewer collection system would be significantly impacted. Has there been an outreach to that? Is there been a resolution on how they're going to deal with that being an issue? One concern being, clean water and making sure that the folks in that area still have clean water.
I have not been involved in any of that conversation. But you could ask the petitioner, I suppose.
So Commissioner Rhodes, is that information pertinent enough to make a motion to suspend to hear from petitioner?
Yeah, I would like to know their plan, at least the resolve on it.
Okay. And can you repeat the question that we would ask petitioner just for clarity?
Yes. So has there been an outreach? The Charlotte Water requested or recommended an outreach because the sewer collection system would be significantly impacted. And so I wanted to know if the petitioner has, one, reached out, and two, what is the resolution that the plan to resolve that issue?
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Rhodes. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Walton, I'll second.
Motion by Rhodes, second by Walton. Commissioner Blumenthal.
Yes.
Chirinos.
Yes.
Ham.
Aye.
Walton.
Yes.
Spencer.
Aye.
Rhodes.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Holly, or Dave, can you let me know?
Yeah, we have Paul Pinnell in as a panelist now.
Paul, can you hear us?
I sure can.
Thank you so very much. And hearing the question, I think there were two from Commissioner Rhodes. Can you please address the body?
Yes, certainly. Good evening, Commission. We are actually involved in a current land development project directly adjacent this site as well. In the image that you're seeing on your screen, to the right, you'll see a townhome development. We're currently doing the land development drawings for this development as well. This has progressed through the land development permitting process fairly in depth. It's about to become approved, so we're rather familiar with the sanitary sewer and the water capacity for this area. Currently, there's a CIP project which was completed a few years ago that involved an extension, a sewer extension that's Charlotte Water completed. So there's plenty of capacity in this area. Next step after a rezoning approval, we would be developing utility plans, submitting those over to the city of Charlotte, Charlotte Water, to confirm the capacity for this area. Unfortunately, we need full utility plans to get that confirmation from Charlotte Water.
Thank you so much for that, Paul. That answers my question.
Wonderful. Have a good evening.
You as well.
You too.
Anything else on 142? Motion, please.
Commissioner Wilson, I'll make a motion. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-142 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Blumenthal, second.
Motion by Walton, second by Blumenthal. Commissioner Chirinos.
Aye.
Ham,
Aye.
Rhodes,
Aye.
Spencer,
Aye.
Walton,
Aye.
Blumenthal.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you. That was 142. We're on item number 8, rezoning petition 2021150 by Tribute Companies, Inc., and we'll hear from John.
Good evening. It's 37.14 acres on the southeast side of North Tryon, east of 485, north of University City Boulevard. It is right on the edge of the county line. It is in the ETJ. Current zoning is R3, single family residential, and the proposed zoning is R12 MFCD, multifamily conditional. The area plan recommends single family residential, multifamily office use for the site, surrounding area, and for the site and the surrounding area. It specifies the density in this area should range from 4 to 12 units to the acre. So they are proposing up to 380 multifamily buildings, or 380 multifamily units and up to 18 buildings. Kind of see the site. It does include some new street connectivity, including the extension of, I believe it's Hudspeth Road, which would then, it goes into Cabarrus County, or no, sorry, Caldwell Road extension into Cabarrus County. And then it has several other street connections as well, buffers against single family residential, future park area, and multi-use paths. Since the public hearing, they've addressed the outstanding issues, so no real major changes to the site plan. Staff recommends approval of the petition. Again, it is consistent with the Northeast Area Plan's recommendation for single-family, multifamily residential office use within that density range of 4 to 12 units to the acre.
Thank you, John. Do we have questions here?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Chirinos. I wanted, could you tell us a little bit about the traffic patterns? I mean, like how much it's going to increase? You know, this is a large area. And it also looks
Whenever to see that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, so the site is estimated to generate about 2,000 trips. The state is the ones who are going to regulate kind of what they'll allow on Tryon. So consistent with the rest of the corridor, they're doing some access management where you can make a left into the site from Tryon, and then it'll be a right in, right out. And they're requiring the petitioner to install a U-turn bulb further down Tryon to safely make that left turn via a right turn and then a U-turn. This is on the edge of the county and abuts Cabarrus. But like John mentioned, there is a portion of a future thoroughfare that they're going to install. And thoroughfares, which North Tryon is one, kind of is one of those workhorse type roadway facilities that carries higher vehicle volume. So the fact that they're building that as a portion of the site is going to help tremendously in the long term as other development occurs around it.
great. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Brandon, where is that thoroughfare on the site plan? Is it the part that's with the dark hash marks down to the lower left there?
Yes, sir. So that'll be a continuation of it. So to the right of those hash marks up to Tryon will be that thoroughfare that they're building out. And then
Okay.
the future extension of that will be where the hash marks is in the adjacent parcel.
Okay. All right. But the orientation is slightly different on that. And so I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
So this question probably only because we have this one in front of us first, but petitions 110, I'm sorry, 150, 210, and I believe 216, they're all proposing development with a little bit higher than comfortable trip gen. I know I'm kind of familiar with what CDOT's process is in terms of looking at this from a cumulative standpoint. Are there any provisions that NCDOT might have, seeing as so Tryon is, like you said, one of those collectors, it's made to or thought to, that's where you want your highest traffic volume. But is there any NCDOT provision or regulation that might be taking a look at this from a cumulative standpoint, seeing as though these three petitions are coming along at the same time? What might there be to at least help us look at this from more of a 30,000-foot view?
Sure. So making it median divided down the center of Tryon actually does help traffic flow a lot more productively because you don't have to stop traffic so that folks can make left turns out of the side streets. So it's a lot more efficient, and that's what they're going to on a lot of their facilities, like Mallard Creek. As you go north of Prosperity Church, they're implementing a project that does that. Steel Creek's going to get it on 160 for a good portion of it on Steel Creek Road. I would say that their trip gen threshold is higher than ours, where we require a traffic study at 2,500 trips. Theirs is actually slightly higher than that. I think it's 3,000 or 3,500 trips that requires the traffic study for them. But they do periodically analyze these roadways and put them on a long range plan once the facility is deteriorating such that it needs to be widened, and then they'll program that based on different ranking criteria and to actually implement those widening projects.
Brandon, did you say that there was going to be a U-turn facility there though as well?
That's right. So now I'm confused on the orientation, but if you go if you make a right out of that Caldwell Road onto Tryon, there will be a U-turn bulb further down to allow those folks who are making a right out to eventually do a U-turn and go back in the left direction on Tryon.
Okay, I'm just thinking about the general speed of traffic up there though, and it's not necessarily what I would consider U-turn friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, and NCDOT has a requirement for the spacing of those bulbs as well, so that there's ample time for that weaving maneuver. Like your concerns are very valid. I think it's somewhere around 800 feet from the right turn is where they would allow it.
Yeah. Yeah, their road, not mine. I guess.
Is Moorhead, I'm assuming it's state maintained. Okay.
Yes.
Any other discussion, comments, questions on 150?
Motion to approve, Commissioner Ham.
Thank you.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-150 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Commissioner Walton, I'll second.
Motion by Ham, second by Walton. Commissioner Blumenthal?
Yes.
Chirinos?
Yes.
Rhodes?
Yes.
Spencer?
Yes.
Walton?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Item number 9. Rezoning petition 2021-151 by Lincoln Harris and John, please.
Okay, this is 3.65 acres on the south side of Fairview Road, east of Cameron Valley Parkway, west of Colony Road. It is the used to be a movie theater in the Phillips Place Shopping Center. Current zoning is MUD O, Mixed Use Development District Optional, and the proposed zoning would be a MUD O site plan amendment. The South Park area plan recommends residential, office, retail, mixed use. This is the site plan you saw at the public hearing. Proposes up to 250,000 square feet of office uses and up to 20,000 square feet of retail, eating, drinking, entertainment, and personal service and or other commercial uses. They have some prohibited uses in there as well. They're requesting an optional provision for 250-foot maximum building height. I'll dive into that a little bit more in the next slide, but that's and then I guess the other thing that they are doing, the big thing, is they're committing to construction of the South Park Loop along the frontage of Phillips Place. And we've had some additional discussions with them today on that, actually, to clarify some things on their notes that they have related to that commitment. Next slide. So they've specified that that additional building height request only applies to the building envelope that's depicted on the rezoning. So it's not basically the entire building area. The parking deck would be at a lower building height. So that's where that clarity comes from on the optional provision. That building envelope then would be the part that gets that additional proposed for that additional height of up to 250 feet. The other thing I mentioned is that you can't quite see it on this note or site plan, but basically we're working with them to clarify the area of the loop project that will be constructed. Basically, all the frontage on Phillips Place would be constructed. There's an area that I guess the Allen Tate building, which is to the far left on the site plan, just off of the plan. They are hoping to construct that portion, but they would need to get construction easements and all that from the Allen Tate property owner, as they don't control it. So there's some discussions about what specifically will happen in the event that they're unable to obtain those easements. But the portion you see kind of on the screen, they are committing to constructing as you see it, and provide that amenity to the area. Next slide. Staff has recommended approval of the petition upon the resolution of the outstanding issue related to site and building design. And the staff analysis, we do have one outstanding issue, and that's to provide basically rendering or visualization of the area that kind of a cross section of the site. So to provide some more clarity as to how that's going to impact the neighboring residential units, and then to provide a maximum height for the parking structure area. We'd like them to provide that. So my understanding is that they do have some renderings that they will provide. We just didn't have it in time to get it in the agenda. And they are willing to provide a maximum height of the parking deck. So is comfortable with the petition once those items are wrapped up. It is consistent with the South Park Small Area Plan's recommendation for residential, office, and retail use. And I'll take any questions.
Do we have any?
John, this is Commissioner Welton. The parking deck is the back corner of the development area, lower corner on my site plan, correct?
It does kind of wrap the back of the building, so it's I guess it's the right and the rear.
Okay.
Yeah, where Holly's got the cursor at.
And what would, under normal circumstances, what would be, if this was straight mud, no anything else, what would the maximum on that height be?
120 feet.
Okay, so they could build a parking deck that high. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why we've asked for that additional limitation of the parking deck structure, because we don't think that there's really a need or 120 foot tall parking deck.
You never can tell. I guess that would be the way to put that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And one other question about the construction of the loop. Is that tied to a certificate of occupancy, or is that a promise to be done and just be done?
I'd have to go back and read the note exactly how it's worded. Most things like, you know, traffic improvements and streetscape improvements, we tie those to certificates of occupancy. So I think that's how we've got it set up, but I'd want to double check before I say for sure.
Okay. All right. Would that be on the notes on the site plan if I went in?
Yeah, it should be, but then there is, like I said, the note that I think it's note 7 there's a note in there about the construction of the loop and has some alternative language and stuff. That note is going to change. So,
okay.
But the timing as when those commitments would be constructed shouldn't change.
Okay. All right. And one more.
Someone from CDOT may be able to answer that question better than I.
Oh, okay. Anybody out there going to volunteer?
Yeah, this is Walter Blackman with CDOT. So yes, we do have a note in there that refers to all, it's H under transportation, and it says, unless otherwise stated herein, all transportation improvements shall be approved and constructed prior to the issuance of the site's first certificate of occupancy.
Okay. So
include the loop.
Okay. All right. So if they build this building in the next 24 months, then life is good. But if they don't, and it's 10 years later, they don't have to do it until 10 years from now, then, I guess, is the deal. Okay. And one more thing, John, I thought, and I just, is a lot of times when we do these, that we're reviewing the projects, they talk about the light from the project has to stay on the site, so to speak. And then we'll have like requirements for lights pointing down and things of that nature. This is a tall building. Are there any constraints in the language relating to, you know, the lighting and, you know, because I know some of the neighbors were concerned, and I went over and took a look just at the geography, you know, the topography behind the building makes it sit up pretty high. So I would think, compared to those folks off of Colony and Sharon View, that they might have an extra star in their sky. Is there any language around lighting?
So as required by it's kind of an ordinance, zoning ordinance standard, the light that's on the site isn't supposed to basically go to off onto the adjacent properties like you were saying. They do have a note on the plan though that talks about having, I think it says something to the effect of decorative lighting. It is note number, hang on. Note X, it just says that exterior accent architectural lighting will be permitted. But again, it would have to, any kind of architectural lighting or decorative lighting would have to basically abide by those ordinance standards. Now, whether that means if it's at the top and you can see it, you know, halfway across from, you know, the shopping center, like, you know, some, you know, a lot of people reference Capitol Towers.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really regulated from a zoning ordinance standpoint. Is basically where the spillage, you know, over into adjacent property owners comes from is more to do with like how your lighting around your parking areas would be downwardly directed, or lighting that's mounted to the building be downwardly directed and not supposed to spill across the property lines. But having some sort of decorative lighting up at the top isn't really regulated in the zoning ordinance. So, you know, there's nothing in here that says that they can't have it on. So, you know.
Yeah, you know, I guess in the end they could put a giant T up there and light it up in purple or something, but that would never happen. Yeah,
there might be some rules in the signage. You know, they can't have, you know, big, you know, they can't have more than what's allowed as far as signage goes in the zoning ordinance. So there's going to be some limitations on what they can light up, but if they light up like the whole roof structure, for example, there's really nothing again prohibiting, at least in this stage, prohibiting from them doing that.
Okay. All right. Just want that for clarity, I guess, for people that have a concern about that. And, thank you for the clarification.
John, this is Commissioner Chirinos. Along the lines of Commissioner Walton, trying to figure out, first, could you elaborate a little bit on this South Park cultural loop? I mean, what the cultural part is. And also, I know that it's going to, the existing use is 1,995 trips per day. The proposed use is 4,595 trips per day. That is 3 times, well, almost. So just trying to figure out that area is already very dense. Granted, I am grieving the loss of the movie theater, like I'm sure most everybody there is. I saw that the only 10 people went to the community meeting, which I think that's kind of interesting, especially because as engaged as a lot of people in that community are. So I want you to just kind of like clarify for me, and I want to understand what this is going to look like, or at least project with this many trips, and to understand that loop, and how is that going to manage that many trips?
Yeah, so the cultural loop was a project that was identified through the South Park CNET effort a couple years ago. And it has it's a wide multi-use path that circulates around South Park and has specialized wayfinding, seating areas, specialized crosswalks, and all of that. So it was meant to be a project that kind of helped create a sense of place for South Park. So that's what that project is, and the name of it was the cultural loop, and there may be more specific reasons as to why it was called that. I'm not sure exactly. Walter, you can probably answer this transportation question that she had about traffic, and maybe elaborate on the loop.
Sure. Thanks, John. So yeah, I think John hit it on the nail. The cultural loop is a 3-mile urban trail that creates and connects a great place for that South Park area for bicyclists and pedestrians. So it creates a vibrant, convenient activity center. And so that is the purpose of it. It was an existing project. And so when this rezoning came in, the city worked with the petitioner, because as of now, portions of this loop is funded, some of it is not. And so the petitioner is going to be able to build out part of this. And so the community is really excited about seeing this come in. To address your question about traffic, there was a traffic study done for this site due to the number of the trips generated by the site. There are several mitigations that were included outside of the cultural loop. So while the cultural loop is addressing ADA compliance, multimodal connectivity, we're also looking at intersections improvements that will come in. So part of it, for example, would be extension of the left turn storage into the site. And we're looking at studies along the Fairview Colony Road. There are quite a few intersections that were studied during this TIS. So that includes the Sharon Road, Fairview intersection, Cameron Valley, Colony Road, Cameron Valley Parkway, and Morrison Boulevard, and then the accesses into the site. So CDOT has approved that traffic study.
Well, I appreciate that. I just, once again, I would like for us to make sure that there are mitigation measures, because that's already a congested area. And we know, traffic has come back pre-COVID style again. And so just to think about, to our chair's comments earlier about all the development that is taking place, for instance, around the north side, that it's they're all going to happen all at the same time, and eventually the traffic is going to come together at the same time. You know, it's not there now, but it will. And then on this side, it just seems like it's going to be a huge increase on top of the very congested area. And that's what I was trying to figure out, whether overpasses or this loop, and how does it work, and how is it really going to mitigate this? Because it sounds great, but it, you know, at the end, it becomes a plug in the middle of Fairview Road. And I just want to make sure that that is taken into consideration, or we're aware of that. You know, there are people that are experts that are better than I am, but I do experience it. I am, you know, one of the residents that goes by all the time, that area. So just want to make sure that mitigation strategies are clear for me to be able to feel comfortable. And I'm sure there are people, once again, that know this better, but it just seems like a huge increase without being really clear.
Yeah, this one does have quite a bit of an increase over entitlement. However, to Walter's point, that's where the traffic impact study was, the petitioner had to comply with that. And any recommendations from CDOT or NCDOT that might come out of the traffic impact study is what the petitioner would be required to provide in terms of transportation or traffic mitigation. So I don't see any outstanding notes from CDOT particularly, so I think the petitioner might be in compliance there. John, I think I have, circling back to what you were saying about the parking envelope, or maybe it was height that you were mentioning when you said petitioner might have a rendering that they were attempting to get to us prior to tonight's work session. Is that correct?
There was so I was emailing back and forth with Brittany Lenz, the agent for the rezoning, and they indicated that they have some graphics that would show that relationship, the height relationship. I guess my understanding is it's viewed from the neighboring residential towards the site, and like showing basically what you would see if you were over in those residential unit areas. But they have not submitted anything that included that yet. So we weren't sure if that was what they were going to submit, or if they were going to submit a cross section. But I guess they were going to discuss internally what it was they were going to submit to us. But they are going to provide us with something. You may you know, feel free to think about suspending the rules if you want to ask them more details on that. But that's the information that I have thus far.
That was question number one. And then question number two, I think I might have heard you mention that the petitioner indicated that they might be open to adding a note about height limit for the parking garage.
Yeah, they said they would agree to do that. I don't know if we nailed down an exact number, but it was going to be less than 120 feet.
Okay. Those 2 points might be worthy suspension of the rules, but that would be up to the discretion of the zoning committee.
Just one quick question for John before we suspend the rules, and I'll do the motion. So how many total parking spots is it going to be?
It would per the ordinance. So I don't know exactly what the square footage of the building is and what that math would work out to be. And they may be providing parking for some of the retail stuff. It might be a shared deck. I'm not sure exactly how that's planned to be. So I don't know. I'm sorry.
I thought during the public hearing, they said they were going to leave the existing parking deck there. So that may be a part of the solution. This could be another question tagged on to the questions that Madam Chair wants to ask the petitioner.
And Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to ask your battery of questions of the authorized representative.
Okay. And
This
do
is
we,
Commissioner, do you need a second already? Or I'll second if you need one.
thank you. Motion by Spencer, second by Walton. And we will intend to get clarity from petitioner on the following. And I'm ready, Commissioner Spencer, so that petitioner comes in ready.
I would just, if you just restate your guy, I'm just using your questions, Madam Chair.
What height limit is the petitioner willing to make on the parking deck? If there is a rendering that shows that height limit from view of the rear of the building, I don't know if that's the rendering, John, that they were speaking that they have, but whatever rendering that they have available to show. And then thirdly, the clarity on existing parking deck, as Commissioner Walton may have mentioned. I don't remember reading that in any of the notes, but I may have overlooked. So if everyone is good with that, we have a motion by Spencer, second by Walton. Commissioner Blumenthal.
Yes.
This is the motion to suspend the rules to hear from petitioner on those points.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
That was Blumenthal. Torinos.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Rhodes.
Yes.
Walton.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Thank you. And the chair votes yes. Holly, you can let me know when we're ready.
Kiba, I did look through my email. Staff did send them an email suggesting that they limit the height to the parking deck of 65 feet, but we had not heard back from them yet.
Thank you.
I have Brittany Lenz over. I don't know if Colin Brown is also on the line, or if maybe he's one of the Colin users, but Brittany Lenz is on the line.
Thanks so much, Holly. Yes, this is Brittany. I can cover these questions.
Thank you so much.
So I'll go in order. The first one being the parking deck height. We were waiting on some final confirmation from the petitioner that 65 feet was acceptable to them. I believe that it is. If it's plus or minus a foot or two, maybe, but I think at this point we can commit to 65 feet as the parking deck height if that's what it takes to get staff comfortable. And then second, we have the rendering showing the height limit, and that would it be possible, Holly, to share my screen? Is that allowed?
I can try. Yeah, give me just a moment if staff doesn't
If
have
not,
any objections.
I could email it to you. So this is regarding the height rendering. So just to give you guys a little bit of background of where we are on that. So we got the comment from staff about adding a height cross section. I think that wasn't actually in our pre-hearing analysis outstanding issues, but we are in the process of preparing that. In the meantime, to address some of the neighbors' concerns and the feedback we've been hearing from the neighbors, we presented them with these very detailed kind of conceptual renderings showing the height. Those are a little more detailed than I think necessarily would be part of the rezoning plan, but they do show a really great visual. So I'd be happy to share them with you guys and show them now. But in the meantime, our team is working through getting kind of a less specific and more technical cross-section that we are certainly happy to provide prior to the decision. And I think I have the screen share ability now, so thank you so much, Holly. All right, if you guys are all looking at your screen, what I'm showing now is a height cross-section from the Waterford condos. So that's kind of, you can see in this small area here, the orientation of where we're standing from those condos. This was some of the neighbors that we had been coordinating with and had some concerns about the height. One thing to note about the height, which will be pretty clear once we get a technical cross-section, the usable square footage really caps out at 190 feet right here. The rest of that going up to what we're showing here is 238 feet. But we're asking for 250, you know, just for flexibility. But that is really more the architectural features, the design, the kind of Lincoln Harris signature. But 190 feet you'll see here is kind of where you're looking at as the bulk of the building from the Waterford condos. this was another community member. This is from the intersection of Sharon View and Mountain Brook. And it's probably very hard to see, but in the middle of winter with no leaves on the trees, where I'm circling my cursor is where you can see what we're calling the terminus building at its full height. And then lastly, here is with the trees with all their leaves on them, and I'm not sure you can see much of the building at all at that point. But those are the three height renderings that we prepared. And like I said, we are more than happy to provide a cross section. We just didn't have the time to do it just yet. And then, fortunately, the third question about the parking deck, I'm actually not sure if we're planning on using an existing deck or providing a new one. I believe we're providing a new one, or at least enhancing the existing one, or reconfiguring it with the building. I don't know if anyone from Lincoln Harris or LS3P is available to answer that question. But as far as the zoning documents, there's nothing committing to us keeping the existing parking deck. I do believe it'll be in a similar location and orientation if you're just kind of familiar with where that parking deck's located currently in Phillips Place. But I don't know that the actual infrastructure will be exactly the same.
Thank you, Brittany. So I think that I heard a verbal commitment to 65 feet on the garage deck. And see the renderings here from the screen share. And we will officially unsuspend now, Holly, and back to our any other questions for John on this, guys?
Commissioner Blumenthal, I'm happy to make a motion.
Floor is yours.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-151 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
It's Commissioner Welton, I'll second.
Motion by Blumenthal, second by Walton. Commissioner Spencer.
This is hard, but I will vote yes, and I have to drop now. Thank you.
Thank you. Rhodes?
Yes.
Ham?
Aye.
Chirinos?
Yes.
Walton?
Yes.
Blumenthal?
Yes.
The chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 10, 2021-186 by Kinger Homes, and we will hear from Michael.
Right, thank you. This is approximately 2.84 acres located at the intersection of Mallard Creek Road and Governor Hunt Road west of David Taylor Drive. The current zoning is R3, single family residential. The proposed zoning is R8 MFCD, multifamily residential conditional. The adopted future land use, the Northeast District Plan recommends single-family uses of no more than 4 dwelling units per acre. The petition is consistent with the general development policies, however, of a recommendation for density of no more than 8 dwelling units. For the site, this one comes in at 7.7 dwelling units per acre. The petition is proposing to develop a residential community of up to 22 townhome units with the density of 7.7 DUA. They do dedicate 50 feet of right-of-way from the road center line. They are committing to the, they're, excuse me, they're providing a CATS and ADA compliant bus waiting pad along the road frontage. Each unit will have a 2-car garage. They do commit to the 24 Class C buffer to the abutting residential homes. And since the hearing, the plan looks a little bit different. They are committing to a 12-foot multi-use path and an 8-foot planting strip along the site's frontage of Mallard Creek. And they are committing to relocating the site driveway to create the fourth leg of the signalized intersection at Governor Hunt. And I will turn it over to Patrick Monroe from CDOT to go over the other transportation changes since the hearing.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I think you mentioned the big one is the relocation of the driveway. I think, as you guys may have heard the other week from council, there was concerns over that location from the public as well as other members of the community. The initial driveway location, excuse me, was determined based on feedback from NCDOT. Mallard Creek is a state facility. So when this petitioner first went to NCDOT to get some feedback for the site, NCDOT's initial feedback was to move the driveway as far away from the intersection as possible and restrict access to right in, right out. That was due to reduction in capacity to the signal. NCDOT was concerned that adding new phases for the signal could hamper capacity on Mallard Creek as well as Governor Hunt. Since that time, and hearing the concerns from the public as well as some concerns from others, CDOT was able to kind of look at the signal from a traffic standpoint, and we were able to analyze the traffic data and determine that the impact to the signal will not be as burdensome as initially planned for. So we were able to work with NCDOT and the petitioner to get that driveway location relocated to the signal. So the reason why you're seeing the big changes here is really balancing the concerns that the different agencies have, as well as the public and the general roadway users.
Thanks, Patrick. And with that, staff does recommend approval of this petition. Be happy to take any questions.
Michael, can you go back to that screen that Patrick was just sharing? Or thank you. So other than reconfiguration of the stormwater patch and the parking spaces that have relocated from building 1 over to near building 4 and or 5. Is there a way you could put it side by side, the old site map and new site map? If not, okay, so orientation is a little bit different. Okay, go back to the other one. Okay. We have questions for Michael or Patrick here. I'm happy to see that the Governor Hunt alignment to the entrance of this community was worked out. That was kind of concerning. I think I read though here that there's a little bit less connectivity within the development. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm looking at this accurately, there was a drive or somewhat of a loop that connected or made for ease from the right side. If I'm looking at this graphic, from the right side of building 1 to the right side of building 2 and 3 in the original site plan. Any questions for Michael or Patrick?
This is Commissioner Welton. I have a quick one for Patrick. Were there roadway improvements that were going to be made in the first plan, and are those continuing in the second plan? I'm thinking I remember from the public hearing, there was going to be this U-turn thing there so that people could get into the driveway or something of that nature. And I just wondered if there were road improvements on Mallard Creek that are still going to be made or not going to be made, or maybe there were none to begin with, I guess.
So I think the one you're referring to, the big one that came up is the concrete median that was going to be installed along Mallard Creek, along the center line of Mallard Creek.
Yeah.
The purpose of that median was to restrict driveway access to right in, right out, and not allow any unprotected movements from that driveway. Now that the driveway is moving to the signal, the petitioner will be required to restripe the existing median on Mallard Creek to a left turn lane, just to make sure the geometry works out for the intersection. But the pavement width is there already, so nothing really significant, really just remarking the pavement that exists today. But the concrete median is going away.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll just say that along with Chairwoman Samuels, I'm also glad that this moved, because that other configuration was not pleasing. Is she muted again?
Thank you.
I didn't say anything.
If there are no more questions for Michael, motion, please.
This is Commissioner Welton. I'll make a motion. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff for this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-186 as it appears before us, and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Blumenthal, second.
Motion by Walton, Blumenthal, second. Commissioner Ham? Rhodes?
Aye.
Chirinos?
Aye.
Walton?
Aye.
Blumenthal?
Aye.
Commissioner Spencer has dropped off the call. Chair votes aye. That passes unanimously. So item number 11, rezoning petition 2021-190 by Blue Hill Development. And we'll hear from John.
Okay, this is 4.76 acres on the north side of Wade Audrey Road, south of Audrey Kell Road, and east of Marvin Road. It is currently zoned single-family residential, has one single-family home on it, and they are proposing R8 CD, single-family residential conditional. The South District Plan recommends single-family residential less than or equal to 3 units to the acre. Because of that district plan recommendation, we would refer to the general development policies for density criteria, and this meets the general development policies for up to 8 units to the acre. The site plan has changed a little bit since the public hearing. So at the public hearing, there you see at the bottom right there where it says tree save at the entrance off of Audrey Crest. There's a 3-unit building right there on the left-hand side of the road, new public street. That you'll see on the next slide, has changed to a 2-unit building. The other change since the hearing was that to address staff's comment about visitor parking. So they are providing, committing to two spaces in each garage, plus 2 spaces on each pad. So each unit would have a total of 4 spaces. Staff wanted some available parking outside of those, so they are have been able to add 3 on-street spaces at the very back where that the street kind of stubs to the well, it ends basically at the back of the property. There's 3 on-street parking spaces there. The site plan is has these units running a new public street that would be constructed and connect to Garden View Drive. Holly, can you go back to the hearing slide? I think I've covered all the main items on the site plan. Just want to double check. Yeah, okay, you can go back now, sorry. Staff recommends approval of the petition. There's no outstanding issues. It's consistent with the district plan's recommendation for single-family residential use, but inconsistent with that density recommendation of 3 DUA. However, the proposed density of 6, well, that should be updated to 5.88 now. It's 5.88 units to the acre is supported by the general development policies. I'll take any questions.
Do we have any for John? Motion, please.
Commissioner Blumenthal, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-190 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Commissioner Walton, I'll second.
Motion by Blumenthal, second by Walton. Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Ham?
Aye.
Chirinos?
Aye.
Blumenthal?
Aye.
Walton?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 12, 2021-196 by Third and Urban. And Joe, are you ready?
Yes. This is approximately 21.5 acres of contiguous and non-contiguous parcels, generally adjacent to Berry Hill Road, Tuckasegee Road, Guestco Street, and J Street. All of the properties are currently zoned I2, and proposed zoning is Mud O. The Bryant Park Land Use and Streetscape Plan recommends office, retail, light industrial uses for the portion of the site along J Street and south of Tuckasegee. And industrial uses are recommended for the remaining parcels north of Tuckasegee, and that references the Central District Plan. The proposal would allow for adaptive reuse of existing buildings, including a maximum of 430,000 square feet of non-residential uses. That includes 350,000 square feet of existing building area and 80,000 square feet of new building and or building expansion. A maximum of 68,000 square feet could be devoted to retail, personal services, and or EDEE uses. The remainder would be office and other similar uses. It prohibits car washes, automobile service stations, and EDEEs with accessory drive-throughs. Building height will be limited to 55 feet for the properties along Berry Hill Road and 80 feet for the remainder of the site. The following optional provisions are requested: to allow parking and maneuvering between the buildings and streets for the existing parking and or adaptive reuse buildings. Newly constructed buildings and parking areas would not be able to have parking and maneuvering between the building and the street. And they're also committing to removal of 2 railroad spurs and repaving within the State Street right-of-way. That's at the north end of your screen. Since the public hearing, they have corrected some transportation notes as well as site and building design notes. Staff recommends approval, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Do we have any questions for Joe? I think I have one, but who is there anyone who has any comments? So
Madam Chair, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
can hear you.
Thank you. So I see the note in here about we're bypassing the TIS. We're doing an in lieu of. And I wonder how that jives with petition 172. 2021-172, that petition specifically stated that a TIS would be required if at a time certain in the future, trip gen got over a certain threshold. 172 and 196 are completely relational in terms of their geographic locations. How does one affect the other? And how it seems like we're skirting a TIS here, and I'm trying to get information on how CDOT is comfortable with these two petitions together and with these two notes on these two petitions specifically about the TIS.
Yes, ma'am. I can answer that for you. So, geographically speaking, you are correct. One of the sites, one of the development areas in 2021, 196 here is immediately adjacent to 2021, 172. The other two sites are on the other side of Tuckasegee in relation to 2021, 172. So there's a little bit of separation between the development areas of 196 that are on the north side of Tuckasegee. That being said, 2021 172, in conjunction with working with economic development, we found that was the best solution at the time to allow them, and if you remember correctly as well, that a lot of these sites had already come in by right under the I-2 rezoning. So a lot of these, the only site in 2021 196 that has not come in for by right yet or through permitting is the site off of Tuckasegee. Everything else has already come in through permitting. And so in conjunction with economic development, as well as them coming through as by right, this was our attempt to provide some flexibility in this, not flexibility, but in the sense of kind of trying to incorporate the understanding that they already came in by right, and understanding where the problem areas of transportation are within this general state Tuckasegee Thrift Road transportation network, and understanding that a TIS would probably not result in very many improvements that are feasible. We know where we know the problem areas are. We know Tuckasegee and Berry Hill, that's a big problem area. However, there's a CIP going in there as we speak to implement a roundabout that will help traffic significantly in this area. And then given the existing building footprints along these local streets, there's really not much room to implement improvements. So we were trying to come up with creative solutions to improve the transportation network, but also accommodating for the previously approved plans, and not implementing a traffic study essentially by surprise, since they're coming in under Mud O here. All that being said as well, there's pedestrian improvements that have been included in these by right projects. We have the Savona Mill property to the east that is improving and extending the Stewart Creek Greenway up to Roselle's Ferry. So there are multimodal improvements in the area. And the removal of the railroad spurs were a creative solution proposed by CDOT to really provide some middle ground between requiring a full TIS, which we knew would most likely not result in any major transportation improvements, but also allowing the petitioner to improve the existing transportation network that's out there now. Those existing railroad spurs out there now, they're really depressed, and the asphalt on both sides are settling around both sides of the track. So when it comes to cyclists as well as vehicles, it's a rough ride, and especially for a cyclist, it's unsafe at the moment. So that State Street Railroad spur improvement would significantly help the multimodal transportation network here.
I'm not sure if that resolved my concern, but thank you for that information. Any other questions on this? This was Joe. I will just add here that I don't know if I agree with CDOT's non-pursuit of a TIS here in light of this rapidly changing area. I think each petitioner that are adding pedestrian improvements, it's hard for me to gauge whether they are suffice for what's happening in this area. And I'm not completely comfortable, or I don't necessarily align with CDOT's assessment that the pedestrian improvements, the railroad spur removal, and the 172 not being close enough. I have a continued concern there, and I need for that to be included with the notes here on this discussion for sure. Any other questions? If not, let's make a motion, please.
I would like to support you, Chair Samuelson. I mean, if that is, I think it's important in every one of these projects that we make a note of those. I mean, I was having the same issue before, and I think that we need to be very intentional about this. I mean, you know, certainly CDOT, they know what they're doing, but at the same time, I mean, if this is an opportunity to be able to combine the two projects and see how there could be some co-creation of patterns, since they are so adjacent to each other, would that, I mean, is this an opportunity to perhaps defer this for more information?
That would be at the discretion of the committee. Are we talking about the same petitioners on both of these petitions? Does anybody know? I can pull it up, but just wanted to see.
Or they're
No, they are different petitioners.
Okay.
I would just add to the conversation that I understand CDOT's notion that you know a transportation study is great. A TIS is great when it gives us the standard things to do to standard roads and standard transportation infrastructure. Some of this infrastructure is probably a little bit on the older side and perhaps may not lend itself. You know, if we did a TIS, it may give us A, B, and C, and only C could be actually implemented in this particular area, or A, B, and C could be implemented poorly, or something of that nature. And that's why, that is my understanding, that gives you the flexibility to look back at that at a certain point in time and you know, I guess doing a TIS upfront isn't always the best solution, and I can be supportive of either deferring it through some note in the petition, or sometimes you gotta just wait and see.
And I agree with you. A TIS won't necessarily cause a win, so to speak. But my concern, number one, is that these petitions seem very similar to me. And the TIS note was made on one in one way, TIS note was made on one a different way. We did an in lieu of and wait until you meet the threshold on the other. So the inconsistency in this same geographic area, in this area that will share pedestrian patterns, doesn't make me very comfortable. I know we have to look at these things at a piecemeal one, judge a petition on the petition. But a TIS might also cause a win for, it's not just about roads, it's for the entirety of the safety of that area. And I'm
Keith,
not.
I can provide some clarification on that if you'd like.
Thank you.
On the difference on the TIS requirements. So for 172, the reason we put that language in there to trigger a TIS down the road, it probably will still get the outcome where, like Kevin mentioned, in a dense urban area like this, we'll probably not get a ton of traffic improvements just because there's not room, and we want to promote multimodal. So that's going to be the alternatives that we're really looking for in lieu of a traffic study. However, that petitioner on that specific project did not commit to doing the additional multimodal improvements that we were seeking in the area at the time. Something that we've spoken with them about, and kind of what Kevin alluded to with us working with economic development within the city, is a potential streetscape project that's going to bring bike lanes on Thrift Road. And so something like that would probably be what would come out of it whenever they trigger that TIS on 172 through their development. This petitioner, however, came to us, and it's not uncommon for them to say, we understand that there's constraints. This is a dense urban area. What are some things that we can do to improve the area from a transportation standpoint? We know that we've got, Savona Mills is doing the Greenway there. We've got the Gold Line. We've got CATS bus routes that are nearby. So promoting safe connectivity and safety for peds and bikes to those facilities. We got a lot of feedback about, how unsafe it is to ride your bike across a wet railroad track that's abandoned and folks have wiped out. So, if we can get those cleared out and make it a little safer for folks to get to those things, and the petitioner is willing to do it now, that's why we did that in lieu of the TIS. And just to kind of put some things in context in terms of, traffic and trip gen and dense urban areas, we don't require TISs in Uptown, right? If you did trip gens on large skyscrapers, it would show many thousands of trips. But that's whenever we're looking at the more multimodal, the more transit type improvements there. So just a little more context there on the difference between these two and why we settled on what we did.
Thank you, Brandon, for that additional. And I'm glad you mentioned multimodal, because that's exactly the vein of thought that I'm in. I know there's not going to be a lot that we can do to the streets there. Use of existing buildings won't allow it mostly. It is the multimodal wins that I'm just assuming will come down the pike, but the magnifying glass is on this petition because of the comment that was made on 172. Like, that's just it. To me, it's too relational geographically, and I can't say that I'm completely comfortable. And I certainly, let me also add that I do not want to necessarily punish this petitioner with these comments or with these notes, but looking at this from a 30,000 square foot view, again, I'm very grateful that petitioner offered to make these commitments, but is it enough?
I think the other component for 172 that's different than this is, as CDOT mentioned earlier, everything in that petition was essentially permitted and built and constructed. That rezoning, if we boil it down, was essentially about reducing parking requirements in the I-2 zoning district to allow adaptive reuse. So we knew that we weren't getting change of use of things that were already going on in those buildings, and we were doing that rezoning to relieve parking. And as part of that partnership with economic development and the thrift road improvements, that was the alternative that was provided for potential traffic study to say, if you redevelop these sites with additional square footage, with additional different uses, then we're going to need to look at traffic a little bit more intently. But just because of what the nature of the rezoning was, which was adaptive reuse, reducing the parking requirements for I-2, that's why that note was put on for these, or for that petition. And for this petition, it was, as Brandon mentioned, more, we know that there's not going to be much that we're going to discern from a traffic study, so let's focus on improvements that we can all agree on and move that forward. So that's why they're different. The nature of the rezoning for 172 was a little bit different because, as mentioned, everything had already been essentially permitted, constructed, waiting on COs, waiting on zoning approvals, and they were getting tripped up with parking requirements. So there is a little bit of a difference between the two projects that were going on.
Thank you, Dave. Questions, discussion, or motion?
Well, is there a way, Commissioner Chirinos, is there a way that we could add those notes in terms of multimodal and all of those different conversations that you have had, so it is noted that this is a concern and that there are some mitigation strategies that need to be, or strategies that need to be looked at? I mean,
It's my understanding, I think, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, they've incorporated those into the notes, correct?
I've only heard them from Brian, but
Yeah, the streetscape improvements and then the additional stuff they're doing is in the notes.
So the one thing that drives me closer to a palatable decision for the petition from the petitioner's standpoint, I guess, is the CIP that's upcoming. I think that I feel like I have missed the boat on 172, and I can't punish the petitioner on 196 for that. However, going forward, I think that the rezoning map that we see, I'm going to make an official request that we zone out just a little bit. What is the radius that we're using for that right now, Dave? The rezoning history map?
I'd have to check with GIS, but I would imagine it's a mile.
A mile, okay.
Maybe two.
So let's talk a little bit offline, maybe you, me, and Brandon about, I feel like there was an opportunity to do something here a little bit better than what I'm seeing between these two petitions. And now I feel like I've missed a boat because 172 has come and gone, and I do not want to punish 196. I'm going to move forward with supporting this petition in light of that, with CIP that's coming up. But this, I feel, is problematic, and I'll definitely, like I said, want to converse a little bit more about the rezoning history map that's being used and passed along in the agenda. Not necessarily thinking that it would have resolved what we're seeing here, but it certainly would have brought it more to light. I saw it when I did site visits for 172. I saw the Z sign for 190 there. Didn't think it was coming to us as quickly, and I didn't think that it was this broad. So I'll also have a question and a note about sign placement. I'll also offer up, not related to 196 or 172, but the sign for 142 was not in the exact area. It was actually across the street. So sign placements for our rezoning hearings have been misplaced, mislabeled lately, and I'll just need to get a better understanding of how that happens and who to contact.
Yeah, we'll follow up with CDOT. We do provide them a map and tell them exactly where to put them. So we'll just have to follow up with our partners and the folks that do that for us.
Okay, so having said all of that, please, let's have a motion. We've got, I think there's 10 more petitions to get through.
Commissioner Walton, I'll make a motion. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-196 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Blumenthal, second.
Motion by Walton, second by Blumenthal. Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye. Sorry, that was a long pregnant pause, but aye.
Ham?
Aye.
Chirinos?
Aye.
Blumenthal?
Aye.
Walton?
Aye.
The chair votes a very hesitant aye. Petition number 13. Rezoning petition 2021-202 by Trade Street Townhomes LLC. And Dave, is this you?
Yep.
Okay.
2021-202 is just under a half mile. It's off of Hollyfield Drive and Willowar Lake Road. It's just to the east of the old Eastland Mall site. It's currently zoned to O1 conditional. It is proposed for UR2 conditional. Next slide. And the Eastland area plan does recommend office uses for the site. You can see it's surrounded by multifamily residential recommendations. This was just looks like a legacy recommendation from the conditional plan that was on the property. Next slide. The proposal is for up to 10 single-family attached townhomes. That comes out at 21.28 dwellings per acre. Limits building height to 40 feet. Vehicular pedestrian access will be from Willowar Lake Road. Usable porches and stoops will present a predominant feature along the front and or side of the building. Corner and end units will have treatment to have them wrap to give them a little bit more of a front-facing element. Also provides an 8-foot planting strip and 8-foot sidewalk along Willowar Lake Road and Hollyfield Drive. Next slide. Just a few changes to the plan. Not sure, they don't have them detailed out here. They were mainly to address outstanding issues. I know we still have one outstanding issue, which I believe is just to provide a little bit more of a planting schedule around that BMP on Hollyfield Drive. But overall, no other real major changes other than just addressing the outstanding issues that were listed on the previous plan, which all have been taken care of at this point, except for that one recommendation to provide some additional screening for that stormwater management area at the end of the site. Next slide. So staff recommends approval of this petition. As mentioned, we do have just that one item to get addressed for the landscaping around the BMP area. Outside of that, no other major concerns. It's inconsistent with the recommendation for office uses for the site, but certainly contextual with all the multifamily recommendation and zoning that's around it. So staff does feel that it's an appropriate change from that office recommendation to something that's residential in nature, and we'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
So Dave, this is Commissioner Ham. I assume that outstanding issue is not a deal breaker with the landscaping?
No, it's not. It's not necessarily. It's a request that we typically make when we see stormwater areas front the main road or one of the roads that they're on. We usually ask them to provide us a little bit more clarity on what kinds of, landscaping they'll put around those just to dress them up a bit. So it is something that we imagine they'll address with us over this next iteration, but not a deal breaker. If they said, hey, we're going to provide something, we're just not quite sure yet what it may be. We'll just continue to keep working with them up until the decision, but I don't think that's a deal breaker for us in any way.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve. This is Commissioner Ham.
Commissioner Chirinos, seconds.
Having reviewed the petition and considered.
Hold on. Motion by Ham, second by
Chirinos.
As this is an additional point of discussion, Commissioner Ham, I have one question for Dave or CDOT. Much like the petition that we saw on Mallard Creek and Governor Hunt, was there consideration to put the entrance to this development on Holyfield?
I think there was consideration, but I know that road has a significant curve, and I believe there's some topography on it as well. So I don't know if it would have met site distance or maybe would have created some site distance issues. I don't know, Brandon, if you or your team want to weigh in on the difference in location off of Willora Lake versus Hollyfield.
Yeah, that's a good point about the site distance and it being on the curve there with Hollyfield. This one's going to also be getting, there's a little more comfort in that there's an all-way stop that's coming in at Willora Lake and Holyfield. So there'll be a break in traffic at times that'll allow folks to get in and out pretty easily into that alley with the minimal trips that it generates.
And the concern around the sewer capacity, I think I remember that from the public hearing. Was that item addressed or was there a solve for that? Guess it would be handled in permitting.
It was more of a, I don't know if it's a capacity issue as it is, it just needs to be brought to the site. Closest available is 940 feet, so they'll have to provide their own, they'll have to work with Charlotte Water to provide a connection to provide that direct service. So they do need to coordinate with Charlotte Water, and they'll have to do that at their own expense. So it wouldn't be a city-sponsored project, but they have capacity. It's just not accessible to the site at this point. They just have to bring it to it.
Thank you. Motion by Ham, second by Chirinos. Commissioner Blumenthal. I'm sorry, Commissioner Ham, you had another question?
Do I need to read the statement?
Consistency statement.
Yes, please.
Having reviewed the petition and considered, I know you want to leave, get out of here. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-202 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Chirinos.
Yep. So motion by Ham, second by Chirinos. Commissioner Blumenthal already voted in the affirmative. Commissioner Welton.
Aye.
Rhodes.
Aye.
Ham.
Aye.
Chirinos.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's everybody? Okay. That passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 14. 2021-206 by Kingbridge Properties, Inc. And we'll hear from Michael, please.
Yes, thank you. This is approximately 4.5 acres located on the west side of North Tryon Street, east of Interstate 85 and south of West Mallard Creek Church Road, across from UNCC. The current zoning is CC Commercial Center. The proposed zoning is MUD CD, Mixed Use Development, conditional, and they are asking for 5-year vested rights. The adopted future land use comes from the University City Area Plan. It is consistent with that plan recommendation of a mix of residential, office, and retail uses. This petition proposes to redevelop an existing retail space with up to 305 multifamily units with structured and surface parking and up to 5,100 square feet of retail space within the Mallard Point Shopping Center. They do limit the height to 85 feet. They're providing an 8-foot wide sidewalk and an 8-foot wide planting strip on both sides of the new private access drive and the primary entrance road. They are providing covered bike parking in excess of the zoning ordinance. They provide open space and amenities, including fitness center, clubhouse, pool, dog park. They are proposing a greenway connection to Barton Creek Greenway. And they still have a few outstanding transportation issues. And staff would also like for them to remove the 5-year vested rights. So staff does recommend approval of the petition upon the resolution of the outstanding issues. Thank you. Be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Michael. I believe the petitioner has been aware of the request to remove 5-year vested rights since the public hearing. Do we feel?
Yeah, they have.
Yes.
I've had some I'm sorry, I've had some conversations with them over the last week about it. I understand where they're coming from with the vesting request, given the nature of the project overall, and then dealing with some long-term and other lease arrangements that they have with some of the existing stores and tenants there, and trying to look at this more as a kind of a one piece of a comprehensive overhaul of this shopping center. So I'm going to continue having some conversations with them over this next week. It's not something I think if it stays, I don't think we'll lose much sleep over it. I do think we typically don't ask for it in these situations, but I certainly understand why they feel like it's important for what they're trying to do long-term and how this piece kind of fits into the bigger puzzle. So we'll continue having some conversations with them and see where we fall before decision. But it's not something that I'm as concerned with after having some of those conversations over the last week.
I will say that I don't know if I would support this if this note isn't removed, but I'm one vote. Any other questions for Dave? Motion, please.
Commissioner Walton, I'll make a motion. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-206 as it appears before us, and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Blumenthal, second.
Motion by Welton, Blumenthal, second. I'm going to vote in the affirmative at the top, but again, I will just note that if all notes that are currently outstanding are not resolved, I would not otherwise be in support. So the affirmative with that note. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Ham.
Aye.
Chirinos.
Aye.
Walton.
Aye.
Blumenthal.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 15, rezoning petition 2021-208 by Hugh Elder, and we'll hear from Holly.
Thank you. This site is just a little under 3 acres, located on the northwest intersection of Nations Ford Road and Forest Point Boulevard, just north of West Arrowwood Road. The current zoning is B1 SCD, which is Business Shopping Center. It's an old zoning district that we no longer have in the ordinance, and the proposed zoning is to go to O1 office. As you can see, there's existing parcels zoned O1 already just to the north and east of the site, as well as their associated office land uses in those areas. The Southwest District Plan recommends office uses at this site, so it is consistent with that land use recommendation. It is a conventional petition, so there's no associated site plan. Again, it's conventional and located adjacent to a number of O1 areas and their associated office land uses, so staff does recommend approval for this petition, and I'll take any questions.
Have any questions for Holly?
This is Commissioner Blumenthal. I can make a motion, and I will have to jump after this petition. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-208 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Chirinos, seconds.
Motion by Blumenthal, Chirinos, second. Welton.
Aye.
Ham.
Aye.
Rhodes.
Aye.
Chirinos.
Aye.
Blumenthal.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, that passes unanimous. Item number 16, 2021-210 by Card Acquisitions LLC.
And Madam Chair, I do have to jump right now, so everyone have a great night.
Thanks, Andrew.
Bye, Andrew.
Michael, please.
Yes, thank you. This is approximately 25.17 acres located on the south side of Moorhead Road, north of North Tryon Street and east of Salome Church Road. The current zoning is O1 CD, office conditional. The proposed zoning is R12 MF, multifamily residential conditional. The adopted future land use from the Northeast Area Plan. This petition is inconsistent with its recommendation of single-family, multifamily, and office retail uses with a density of no more than 8 DUA. So this petition proposes to develop a residential community allowing up to 276 apartments and up to 24 townhomes with a density of 11.9 dwelling units per acre. They also limit the maximum height of townhomes to 40 feet and the maximum height to 48 for the apartments. They are constructing left and right turn lanes on Moorhead Road at Floyd Smith Office Park Drive. They do commit to a 12-foot multi-use path along Moorhead Road. They are providing an 8-foot planting strip and an 8-foot sidewalk along both sides of the proposed Floyd Smith Office Park Drive, and an 8-foot planting strip and 5-foot sidewalk along both sides of the proposed Weaver Glen Place. As you can see, they are providing buffers adjacent to the single family residential. They are providing open space amenities, including a combination of swimming pool, clubhouse, dog park, etc. And there are no outstanding issues, and staff does recommend approval of this petition. I'll be glad to take any questions. Thank you.
Do we have any for Michael? Thank you, Michael. Any notes? Any discussion? Motion, please.
Commissioner Wilson, I'll make a motion. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-210 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Chirino seconds.
Motion by Walton, second by Chirinos. Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Ham.
Aye.
Commissioner Walton.
Aye.
Chirinos.
Aye.
Rhodes.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 17, 2021214 by Adams Property Group. And Dave, please.
Sorry about that. So 2021-214, it's just under 2 acres off Rocky River Church Road in Woodland Beaver. Slide, please. It's currently zoned B1 conditional, and the proposed zoning is for MUD optional. The I-485 interchange study does recommend multifamily and retail uses for the site. Next slide. And this proposal, as presented at the hearing, was for up to 110,000 square feet of climate-controlled storage. Would also include a minimum of 3,000 square feet of other non-residential uses allowed in MUD. Does prohibit things like convenience stores, check cashing establishments, residential uses, and any uses with a drive-through window. Does limit building height to 55 feet, and also the number of principal buildings would only be permitted to 1. Does provide some optional provisions to allow vehicular circulation between the building and Rocky River Church Road that would be screened with a 4-foot masonry wall. Also, the non-storage related uses required to be provided along the ground floor of the building would be located along Woodland Beaver Road. Improves the parking with on-street parking along Woodland Beaver as well, and also installs an 8-foot planting strip and 8-foot sidewalk along that frontage, and then a 12-foot multi-use path an 8-foot planting strip along Rocky River Church. Also provides a 90-foot landscape setback and tree save area along Rocky River Church Road that's consistent with a lot of the projects that are found in this little mixed-use kind of shopping center out here. And also provides details for building materials. Next slide. Changes after the hearing did illustrate a location of potential stormwater detention. You can see that in the top left corner of the site plan. Also added a note that along Rocky River Church Road, that 90-foot landscape setback would be provided. Stormwater detention may be located within that landscape setback, and that those stormwater detention areas will be screened from Rocky River Church Road and Woodland Beaver with landscaping. You can see those outlines of trees that are going to be proposed around that stormwater detention area. They also added some elevations of the building to the site plan after the public hearing as well. Next slide. So staff does recommend approval of this petition. All outstanding issues have been resolved. It's inconsistent for the multifamily uses, but it is consistent with some of the retail uses for the site. That would be primarily some of the ground floor possible retail that would be located within the building. I know we had some conversation on whether storage was a retail use or an industrial warehouse use. I think that's still something that we could probably debate for the rest of this evening. But we did find it to be consistent with some of those retail uses for the site and do recommend approval, and we'll be happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have any on this one?
Dave, I just have one question. How far is the next storage area to that? How?
That I don't know.
Is that is that the first in that area?
I'm not aware of any along that stretch between I-485 and this spot. I haven't been out there in several months, but I haven't seen any in the works or popping up over those last few between that interchange and this spot. So there may be, if there are, there may be some of the older, more conventional ones further down Albemarle, but I'm not aware of any in this immediate area.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Not motion, please. Your chief motion makers are gone, so we gotta, well, the main motion maker is still with us.
I shall make a motion. How about that?
All right.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-214 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Second by Commissioner Ham.
Motion by Walton, second by Ham. Commissioner Torinos?
Aye.
Rhodes?
Aye.
Ham?
Aye.
Walton?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 18. Yeah. 2021-215 by DHIC LLC and Reventure Park Investments North LLC. And we'll hear from Joe.
Thank you. This is approximately 102 acres on Mount Holly Road and adjacent to the Catawba River. Current zoning is CC, mostly CC. There's a small little area in tan bottom left corner of I-1, and it's within the Lake Wiley critical area. Proposed zoning is MX2 innovative and Lake Wiley critical area. The Catawba area plan recommends a mix of residential, office, and retail for the majority of the site, and some park and open space on the river. The proposal is for up to 810 units of various types, including apartments, townhomes, duplexes, single family detached at DUA of 7.94. Development area A, which is the bottom of the screen closest to Mount Holly Road, would have a max height of 62 feet. Development area B, which is for single family attached, and at the top of your screen near the existing single family neighborhood, would have a max height of 48 feet. Innovative provisions requested include no minimum lot sizes, no minimum frontage along streets, no minimum side or rear yards. That would maintain a 10-foot building separation. There was a traffic impact study for this project. Transportation improvements include street network of public and private streets built to CDOT standards, connections to existing street stubs, and construction of stubs for future connections, as well as improvements to existing intersections, a 12-foot multi-use path along Mount Holly Road, 8-foot planting strip and 6-foot sidewalk along the internal streets, proposing architectural and urban design standards for massing and height requirements, usable porches and stoops, and facade treatments. They'd be providing a Class C buffer between Area B and the existing single-family homes. They're setting aside 10% of the site for open space, also committing to dedicate and convey 2 acres to Mecklenburg County Park and Recreation, and proposing 2 community boat docks with trails providing access from the development to the Catawba River. Since the public hearing, they have they've addressed outstanding issues related to transportation, the environment, and site and building design. Staff recommends approval, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Do we have any notes for Joe?
Yeah, Joe, I just wanted to ask, I think that there were some outstanding issues with the county, and you said they were addressed already. What were the issues? I mean, I see on the notes. I mean, the Parks and Recreations is fine, but there was an outstanding issue. I think it was
with
somewhere.
Stormwater services. I don't see any with the county specifically, but there were some labeling issues regarding the swim and PCSO buffer, as well as the lake and stream buffers that weren't labeled correctly, and those have been addressed.
Okay. Okay. I believe I saw that. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Joe? I have just 2 notes. I believe in the notes it says that petitioner is proposing 2 boat docks. I believe during public hearing, or maybe this is subsequent conversation that I had with petitioner, those boat docks would be contingent upon authorization from Duke Power. And if the petitioner is listening, I just want to be able to express that if you go back to the site plan, please, Joe or Holly. The boat dock in the bottom left corner, yes, the bottom left corner, I think, would be along with the Park and Rec 2 acres of dedicated is in that area. So I think they're thinking to make that be publicly accessible. If we're not able to make that work out with Duke Energy or Duke Power, I would encourage petitioner to create another win for Park and Rec in that area if we're not able to make that work. So that's note number 1. Note number 2, for members of the public who are listening to this session, particularly members of the community at Catawba Station, which is to the north of this site on this particular visual, there is not a way for the petitioner to have avoided having to open up those streets, Turkey Point Drive, Eagles Feather, and I can't remember the name of the third one in the middle. I just wanted to notate that although this site will be voluntarily annexed into the city, that does not automatically mean that the Catawba Station development will be annexed into the city. And I would just reiterate my urging to those community members who express their desire to have that done. Please connect with your at-large city council members. Please connect with Commissioner Elaine Powell. She's very open and accessible. That's your district Board of County Commissioner rep about how that process might work for your community. And I just wanted to say that for the benefit of the public. Thank you very much. Are there any other comments, questions for Joe? Motion, please.
Commissioner Walton, I'll make a motion. Having reviewed the comments, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-215 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Chirinos, seconds.
Motion by Walton, second by Chirinos. Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Ham?
Aye.
Walton?
Aye.
Chirinos?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 20.
19.
We just did 19.
We did. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. Thank you. Item number 19, 2021-216 by DHIC LLC. They have, this is the same petitioner, so I got confused. Commissioner Walton, thank you. And we will hear from Michael on this.
Yes, thank you. This is approximately 41.26 acres located on the west side of Old Holland Road, east of Interstate 85 and north of Moorhead Road. The current zoning is R3 single family residential. The proposed zoning is R8 MF multifamily residential conditional. The adopted future land use is the Northeast Area Plan. The petition is inconsistent with the recommendation of residential uses of no more than 4 DUA. This petition proposes to develop a residential community with up to 198 multifamily apartments and up to 50 duplex style attached dwelling units with the density of 6 dwelling units per acre. It also provides access from Old Holland Road and Lapis Lane, provides public access easements over and across the 2 private streets within the site, provides a northbound left turn lane with 150 foot of storage on Old Holland Road. They do commit to a 12-foot multi-use path along the site's frontage on Old Holland Road. It provides 8-foot planting strip and 8-foot sidewalk along the private streets with public access easements. They are committing to a 0.15 acre public pocket park with public access easement. They're providing a swimming pool and clubhouse. They do limit the maximum height for the duplex style units to 35 feet and the height for the multifamily apartments to 50 feet. We also got notice from the petitioner that they are committed to add a note to the rezoning plan that it will offer to donate a conservation easement of approximately 18.5 acre portion of the site to the Catawba Lands Conservancy. And if the Catawba Lands Conservancy does not accept the petitioner's offer, then they will use that 18.5 acre portion of the site will be part of the tree save and open space areas. They also had one outstanding issue, which the petitioner, we heard this afternoon, agrees to, which was with further coordination with NCDOT and the findings of the TIS, they would provide a 100-foot right turn lane on Old Holland Road at the southern intersection. And then the other outstanding issue, that staff would like to revise the building form from multifamily dwellings to single family attached dwellings. However, I would say that in light, we found out yesterday about the possible donation to the conservancy easement, that staff, we would be reevaluating sort of based off that. We do see it as a public benefit that offsets some of our concerns. So we just need to work through that a little bit. So our recommendation may change going into the final public hearing. Just wanted to share that with you. Thank you. Be glad to take any questions.
That note again, Michael, about building form. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, so staff's original issue was to revise the building form, specifically the multifamily dwellings, the apartments, to change that to single family attached dwelling units, townhomes, or more of the duplex style housing form.
This is Commissioner Chirinos.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry, Commissioner Chirinos. I just wanted to ask, follow up on that. So staff does not recommend. You didn't even catch it. Staff still does not recommend approval of this petition in its current form, but if the softening of the language on the building form or those changes to the site plan actually happen, that might turn into support going into council decision. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of a late development, and based off of learning that, staff is willing to reevaluate their recommendation.
Thank you.
But currently, yeah, that's what it stands as.
Thank you. Commissioner Chirinos and then Walton.
No, I was gonna ask the same question that what you were asking when you were muted. So so is this going to, since staff does not support that, and I understand the issue, is this a deferral?
No, it's not a deferral.
Is the but if they make the changes, I just want to be clear.
Yeah, so that's something that we're evaluating, that we need to sort of discuss internally upon learning this at a late time, and to look at the rationale for it. But I just wanted to let you know that because of this proposal, that's something that that may make us change our support.
So basically,
instead of against it.
Right. So these recent developments, Commissioner Chirinos, get staff closer to a position of support.
Yes, you said that better. Thank you.
It still sounds like a maybe, though, to me, I guess, Michael. I realize you're probably couching your words very carefully there, because you can't say where you're going to decide. You haven't discussed it, I guess.
Yeah, we just got the information Monday. I would say that we're much more supportive of that outcome than we were before we got that information. We just haven't had time to work up a rationale for present, but that doesn't preclude zoning committee from creating their own rationale to support it, to move forward to the decision, and then staff's evaluation will continue after that. But it certainly provides us a pretty significant public benefit, with that being in a true conservation easement. So it's something we just need to consider, and then we would need to rework a rationale based off of that. But it doesn't preclude zoning committee from looking at the petition favorably, with or without that condition being present.
And Dave, if you move to a position of support, would it be contingent upon acceptance of the conveyance easement?
I don't think it would be contingent on that. I think the effort to get that into the Land Conservancy certainly is a valuable one. You know, I'd like to get a little bit more background from the petitioner on what types of conversations they may have had, if that's a positive relationship, if they've said, hey, we're interested. Also explore the opportunity if Parks and Rec would, I know there's not public access to it, but would they still be willing to take the land and possibly hold it and get access around it in the long term? So I think there's just a few things we'd like to flesh out. But from a land use perspective, again, if it's something that the zoning committee feels like it's still a good outcome just with the residential units that are there outside of any of the notes for, because regardless, that area is still going to be held in tree save and open space. It's not proposed for development. This just puts a little bit more of a commitment to, you know, to really keeping that in perpetuity versus, you know, maybe somebody comes back 15 years later for development, but that I think still has it as open space and tree save. So that's still a benefit, but this just kind of cements it a little bit further and gets us a little bit, you know, more certainty of what the long-term outcome of it's going to be.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dave? If not, motion, please.
I would just like to add to this before we get to a motion, because staff does recommend, does not recommend approval, is the motion that the consistency statement we have in front of us. I would counter to the notion that, you know, this area is very close to a lot of amenities there, Concord Mills and all of that other stuff that's up there. And we just approved the petition for right across 85. I think, and hopefully I don't get this wrong, is the Childers Klein petition for
That's correct.
It was a large industrial.
Yeah, with multifamily as part of it.
And immediately next to this particular petition, but I don't know if I think it's in, you know, that other county, is an apartment development.
Yeah, which connects, I think, to this project as well.
Yeah, so you know, I'm not sure why the change in form from multifamily to single, how is it, low density single family, but this would seem to be consistent with what's going on. I know there's that imaginary line between our county and the other one that, you know, we have no control on the other side, but you know, in reality, they're right next to one another. So,
right. You would just need to adopt a consistency statement that's your own if you want to recommend in a favorable recommendation, and just provide a few points as to, you know, why you feel it's a good fit and recommended that way. So yeah, that we can certainly.
I mean, I just throw that out there for the rest of the commissioners to consider.
Any other notes, comments for Dave, questions, discussion? If not,
I would like to support that new what Commissioner Walton is saying. So, I mean, are you going to make a motion?
I was going to make a motion, and then there's the part where I kind of stutter and kind of make up a consistency statement as I go along.
had a good start though, so
Yeah.
just keep building on that.
All right, I shall make a motion. How about that, people?
Floor is yours.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff, I would offer an alternate consistency statement and move that we recommend approval of the petition number 2021-216. The alternate consistency statement being, we believe this petition is in the public interest because it provides significant amount, let's go with diversity of housing types in an area that is close to amenities and close to jobs, and provides open space for the community to enjoy. Is that good?
Works for me. Motion by Walton.
Chirino seconds.
Second by Chirinos. Commissioner Ham.
Aye.
Rhodes.
Aye.
Chirinos.
Aye.
Walton.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Petition number 2021-220 by Dependable Development, and we'll hear from Holly, please.
Thank you. This site is just under 19 acres, located on the south side of Beagle Club Road, east of Riverside Drive, and west of Mount Holly Huntersville Road. The current zoning is R3 single family residential, and they are proposing to go to R8, which is also single family. The Northwest District Plan recommends single-family residential uses up to 4 dwelling units per acre. So it is consistent with that land use recommendation of single-family land uses, but inconsistent with the density recommendation for the site. But it should be noted that there are utility easements on this site that would prevent development surpassing, or that would prevent developers from going up to actually 8 dwelling units per acre. The actual density count would be closer to 4 dwelling units per acre. There's not an exact number on that, but that's just due to site constraints. So really they're requesting this rezoning petition to get slightly smaller lot width requirements so that they can put in a few more homes on the site. So it won't actually be a density up to R8 necessarily. It'll be pretty similar to what's already around the area. So staff does recommend approval of this petition, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
I have a question. Why wouldn't this come as conditional? For that reason of the density note? Or to include a number of unit commitment?
We felt that because oh, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, well, we just thought that because we knew that the utility easements were there, that the actual unit count would be more similar to R4. We didn't see an exact need to see a conditional plan, because even then, I mean, going up to R8, though it's, you know, the surrounding area is R4, R8 isn't such a huge leap that we thought it would be inappropriate. I don't know, Dave, if you had anything else to add.
No, I think you summed that up correctly. There weren't really any significant conditions that we felt that would get worked out, that wouldn't get worked out through the subdivision ordinance. And the fact that those utility easements and some of the other site constraints really limit them down to a density probably that's close to around 2 or 3 per acre when it's all said and done. So we didn't see any real conditions that would be needed for the site.
Thank you so very much. Any other questions, comments for Dave or Holly?
Motion to approve.
Floor is yours.
Commissioner Hale. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-220 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Commissioner Welton, I'll second that.
Motion by Ham, second by Welton. Commissioner Chirinos.
Aye.
Rhodes.
Aye.
Ham.
Aye.
Welton.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. And last but not least, thank you so very much, everyone. 2021-227 by Graham Partners LLC, and Holly will round out the night.
Thank you. This site is just a little over 3 acres, located on the west side of Old Providence Road, east of Providence Lane West, and north of Ray Road. The current zoning is R3 and is proposing to go to R4, so it's really just a slight increase in density here on this site, which is pretty large, as you can see, so it allows for a better utilization of the parcel generally. The South District Plan recommends single-family residential uses for up to 3 dwelling units per acre. So again, this one is also consistent with that single-family land use recommendation. It's just inconsistent with the density recommendation for the site. Staff recommends approval of the petition, and I will take any questions.
Are there any for Holly? Motion, please.
This is Commissioner Welton. I'll make a motion. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2021-227 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Second by
Chirinos,
Commissioner
seconds.
Ham.
Oh, sorry.
Motion by Walton, second by Ham. Commissioner Chirinos.
Aye.
Rhodes,
Aye.
Walton,
Aye.
Ham.
Aye.
Was that everybody? I feel like I circled. Chair votes aye. That passes unanimous. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for hanging out with us for this additional 30, 45 minutes. And I promise we're trying to get better with this, but thank you again for everyone participating in the discourse. And I'll accept a motion to adjourn or bid everyone adieu, whichever you prefer.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Chirinos, and everyone, please have a great evening.
You do the same.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
See everybody soon.